Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Caro and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for spending some time with me today. This is the second part of my embossing folder video. If you haven't seen the first one, I would recommend you start with that one. Today we want to step up the technique that we used last time. Here I have the Royal Brocade 3D embossing folder from Altenew. This is what cardstock looks like embossed with the Royal Brocade 3D embossing folder. You see a nicely raised pattern. It's very pronounced. You can see it on both sides of the cardstock. At this point, I want to apologize for the many shadows that you see instead of getting a good view of the pattern. I will fix this, but it will be another small section, a few seconds until you get a clearer picture. Thank you for your understanding. In any case, I think that this kind of pattern is ideal for double embossing, and that is what we will do. I will now take another 3D embossing folder from Altenew. This one is a floral and it is called Rose Bouquet. And I will take the already embossed paper and put it through my die cutting machine in the Rose Bouquet embossing folder. And here you can see the result of the double embossing. You do notice the florals right away, but you can also see a very subtle pattern all over, in the background and throughout the flowers. Isn't that neat? And this is what I want to print this time around. I will put the card onto the gel plate once we have the paint on it, again with the debossed side making contact with the plate and the embossed side facing us. So okay, here we go. Time to put some paint onto my gel plate. You've seen me roll out paint before, so I thought we could skip this time around and immediately show you the card being put onto the plate and then removed. And what we notice here when we pull the print, you see it right away, I did not make good contact with the gel plate. Last time I used my brayer to consistently roll over the card that I put onto the gel plate, either a clean brayer or one with paint left on it. This time I neglected to do that, and you can see that the result is not as lovely. So let's do this again. And one advantage of using this technique is that you can use the same embossed cardstock, whether it's embossed once or double embossed as here. You can use it multiple times on a gel plate, especially when you roll out your paint fairly thinly. It just leaves a thin coat of acrylic paint on your cardstock, and then by using it more than once, every time you simply build up an additional layer of acrylic paint. So you can use these as many times as you wish. In a second, when I put the card back onto the gel plate, you will notice that this is not my second attempt, but it is indeed my third attempt. I had again some trouble with the recording and I apologize for that. The embossed cardstock is exactly the same as the one that we used before, only this time you can see that I had already gone over it with a brayer with leftover paint. And because of that paint now on the embossed cardstock, you can see the two patterns more readily than you did when it was white. You can see that there's a floral and that there is the brocade as well. So now I go over the cardstock again with my brayer to ensure that the cardstock makes good contact with the gel plate. And then I can remove the cardstock, and you see that it has left behind a very clear image of the floral and the brocade. Then I take my thin cardstock, the same that I used before, put it onto the gel plate. I go over it with my hands a few times. Then I even take the brayer to ensure that the paper makes very good contact with the plate. And then we can pull the print and we see what a lovely image the gel plate has left. One additional way to take this a step further does not involve double embossing. It involves creating two patterns with just one embossing folder. So now I have an embossed piece of cardstock. This one was embossed with the ribbon wave embossing folder, and I put it with the embossed side down onto the plate. So far I have shown you what the debossed side making contact with the gel plate gives us. Now we'll look at what print the embossed side produces. And you will notice that the pattern from the debossed paper is left on the brayer. So it's really left in the paint on the brayer. And this is what we will use to produce the second pattern. This works especially well with abstract and geometric shapes. It doesn't work so well with florals, and that is because the roller of the brayer is not large enough to take on the entire floral image of an embossed folder, unless you have a very small floral image. And then you can try that, of course. I have to say that I like this pattern so much, so much. I think it will be wonderful for ocean-themed cards. And I want to show that to you in part 3 of this video series. But before that, you see that I think there's enough paint left on the brayer to do this second time. So I take a separate sheet, because at this point, of course, I have both patterns on one sheet of paper. So now let's pull the print to see what our primary pattern looks like. And here it is. I think it looks pretty. Also good for water-themed cards, but I think you can also use it for other projects, because after all it can also serve as an abstract pattern. There's enough paint left on our gel plate to pull a second print, but of course the paint has dried, so I will put some more paint on the gel plate and see what this will give us. At the very least, it will give me a good colored sheet of paper to cut, say, water plants from. Okay, and while I finish this up, I want to thank you for spending some time with me, and I hope you will meet me in the third part of this video when I finally show you all the cards that I've made with these prints. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in part 3. Bye!